Today's agenda is going to be mostly focused on licensing and what it means to you as a current Dynamics GP customer. On our customer list, most of you are on GP 2010, some of you are on GP 10. So we'll be talking about those changes for you, whether you're on whatever version that you're on. The remaining 9 sessions are going to be focusing on what's new and features, but we felt that it was important for us to put before you information because the licensing changes with GP 2013 are much different than anything you've ever experienced before. And we think it's all good, but we want to make sure you understand what the changes are. And again, a reminder to mute your phone. And then at the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A, and then you can unmute at that point. There is one disclaimer, and that is we've reviewed every bit of information we've gotten from Microsoft. I've always joked that you need a license or you need a 4-year degree in Microsoft licensing to understand it. And I know when Barbara goes on vacation and I'm asked to place an order, I go into an utter panic. So there is a lot to it. So we've tried to boil it down for you and present it in a way that's understandable and hopefully accurate. So we're mostly going to talk about licensing changes. We're going to talk about how you can start planning to go to GP 2013. We're going to give you a number of links that we think will be helpful. And then we're going to have a Q&A section at the end. Okay. So with that, a little bit about Dynamics GP. And again, reminder to mute your phones. We will do better at the next session. We'll have more advanced audio capabilities, so I'll be able to do the mute myself. GP 10 released in August of 2007. Support ended last October, so if you're on GP 10, you are currently on an unsupported version, and we're going to be contacting you if we haven't already, and trying to convince you that you do need to upgrade. And we do understand there's probably some system investments at this point that you'll have to make if you're on GP 10. For those of you on GP 2010, you have a couple of years left. However, there's so much new at GP 2013 that we would encourage you to begin to explore what's available and plan your upgrade sooner rather than later. GP 2013 did release in December. It is going to be supported until 2018, so you'll see that every single release gets approximately a 5-year support time frame. Microsoft is committed to future releases of GP as well, and you should expect them, and they traditionally, as you can see, are released approximately every 24 to 36 months. And within that, there's generally 2 service packs per year, and some of those service packs do contain a certain number of enhancements and additions as well. If you don't know the current version that you have, I can show you during the Q&A session, so don't worry. Okay. There are over 125 new features with this version. Our 9 weekly webinars following this one are going to try to show you not each and every, but most of the new features that are available. Some of them, in my mind, with this version for the first time, I think I see that they've addressed some things I thought were more design issues that should have been addressed a long time ago. So I think they've done a very, very good job with GP 2013, both providing new functionality as well as giving you also a better design application. There's a web client. This is the first web client that ships with GP 2013. And at the end of the session, if you'd like to talk about that a little bit more, I can. But that will be the session in 2 weeks that will focus on the web client that should enable you to basically virtually anywhere with a web browser be able to fully work in Dynamics GP. This version also positions Dynamics GP to be available as a true cloud application. And that also will be covered in the next couple of weeks. And most importantly, and which is why we're meeting today, is there's a whole new license model for existing customers. All active GP customers are going to be transitioning to the new Microsoft licensing model with this version. Your current price lists are protected, which means that in almost every situation you're going to be receiving more features, more functions, more modules, but at your current price. So it will not cost you any additional money to migrate to the new licensing. And you're either going to transition to the starter pack, which I'll show you in a moment, or the starter pack with the extended pack. But the most important thing is that it's not going to cost you any more in terms of your annual service plan or any more in terms of your licensing. Here's the starter pack functionality. If you're on a module-based licensing, which was the original way that Microsoft Dynamics was sold, you bought a general ledger, you bought an accounts payable, you purchased an accounts receivable module, and only the modules you purchased are the ones that you own. A few years ago, Microsoft moved to more of a suite concept, and with the suite, you got a whole suite of products. And obviously there are always some that you're going to not need and others that are going to be useful to you. So if you were on the module base, you're suddenly going to be given an entire suite of products. If you were on the Business Essentials or the Advanced Management Suite, then you're going to be receiving the starter pack. And if you're Advanced Management, I'll show you, you're going to be receiving the extended pack. So if you take a look at this, the items that are in italics are the items that were not available to Business Essentials customers that are available to you now. I'm going to just point out a couple of the items that are now available to you for those of you who are on a current Business Essentials suite. One is the revenue expense deferral module. I would recommend that everybody look at what it does and how it works. It's easy to implement. It's one of my favorite Microsoft GP modules. We use it in-house to defer all of our prepaid expenses painlessly after previously doing this via spreadsheets and journal entries. And I can't speak enough about the value to it. The other thing you might want to consider is that you now receive at no extra charge the human resource module. If you're using another HR system, then it may not be helpful, but if you're using a series of spreadsheets, which many people do for HR, then it might be worth exploring. And one of the links that you'll receive is going to describe in brief every single module on the packs that are available to you. If you currently license any of the modules that you see listed here, then you're also, in addition to the starter pack, going to receive the extended pack. So if you're on Microsoft Dynamics Advanced Management, you're going to transition to the extended pack as well as the starter automatically. If you purchase any of these modules separately, you also will be transitioning to the extended pack functionality. Again, at no additional charge. If you have the Integration Manager, you will also transition to the Customization Pack. Many of you own the Smart List Builder. That doesn't change. You will currently license all of those pieces. SRX Management Reporter. So Management Reporter is the new financial reporting tool that is available for producing mostly your traditional profit and loss statements, your budget versus actual, your balance sheet, etc. With GP 2010, Microsoft made available, and I believe it's on Service Pack 2 of GP 2010, Management Reporter, which is the replacement for the traditional FRX reporting tool. So if you're on GP 2010, you have the choice of either being on FRX or Management Reporter. If you're on GP 10, your only option right now is FRX. All customers have to upgrade to Management Reporter if they're using FRX right now with GP 2013, because FRX will no longer work with GP 2013. Again, there's no cost, but there is a bit of work that needs to be done to migrate. We find that not all of the reports do upgrade without some tweaking and a little bit of work. So what we're going to be recommending to all of our GP 2010 customers is that if you are currently using FRX, that you upgrade to Management Reporter now. And we believe that if you do that, then when you do transition to GP 2013, then it's not a double upgrade. You're not upgrading GP as well as the financial reporting tool, because they can be upgraded separately. And we think it'll minimize your disruption. There is one exception in terms of additional modules becoming available to you. Collections management was originally written by Professional Automation. My guess is probably still being developed by Professional Automation. And the extender tool, for those of you who have purchased it, it was developed by E1 Solutions, who also, by the way, are the developer of Smart Connect that many of you are using. And they've continued to develop Extender. With GP 2013, Collections Management and Extender come off the module listing and price list for GP, and they are the OEM agreements with each of those developers ends, and those modules revert back to the original developers. Many of you do have a license for Collections Management. Many of you probably don't even know you have a license for it because you have no use for it. So we'll be working with you starting with June 1 with your service plan renewals to determine whether or not you want to continue to license Collections Management. If you do, then your total GP service plan renewal doesn't change, only you're going to see a separate line item for Collections Management. And if you aren't using it, then your service plan renewal, I believe, and Barbara, correct me if I'm wrong, but should go down or be reduced by the Collections Management portion of the service plan. With the Extender, it will just see as a separate line item, and actually we don't know what the total impact is with Extender, but we suspect you potentially might be seeing more features and functionality with Extender once it is under E1's purview. And hopefully I explained that well. It's very confusing.
Can I interrupt
Sure.
for one moment? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Both Collections Management and Extender, going back to their original vendors, will continue to be developed and enhanced. So the Collections Management for Professional Advantage, they will actually be releasing a new version in June, which will have new features and functionality and capabilities to GP 2013. As far as the plans go, I will touch base with each and every customer as far as how that impacts their annual renewals on a one-on-one basis, because it does get a little complicated. And I'm just going to leave it at that because we could get into a whole discussion here. So, but I will touch base with each and every customer that has Collections Management registered on a one-on-one basis. So
Thanks, Barbara.
expect a telephone call and a conversation from me.
And that's Barbara Roman, for those of you who don't know. I'm sure you all know her at this point and love her. Okay.
Well, that's debatable.
Thanks, Barb.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, so this is a big change. There's two new types of GP users. The full user is your traditional GP user. They have full ability to go into GP, enter transactions, create reports, do queries, use smart lists, anything that they are typically doing right now. That full user can also now access GP through the web client if it's installed and implemented in your environment as well. So think of it as your typical GP user as you know today. They're introducing also a limited user. And I think of this as that user that we typically set up for you that has a role of inquiry only. These are the people that you want to allow within your organization and your auditors to go in and to look and not touch. They can run any report if we want them to. They can run any inquiry. They can run the smart list, but they cannot enter and process transactions. And that is an entirely new concept to have a limited user that can go into GP. And all of the users, whether they're a full user or a limited user, will be licensed by concurrent count, which means that the whole concept of a named light user goes away with this version. If you're on GP 2010 and you want to purchase new users, you're going to be purchasing new users off the price list as it exists today. So whatever your price as a GP 2010 user is, that is what you would be buying. For business essentials users, and this opens a can of worms, I realize, the GP 2010 version user pricing tends to be lower. Advanced management users, 2010 pricing tends to be higher than the 3,000 user, but it's based on your user count and the way the price list works right now. If you've purchased light users in the past, then Microsoft's taking every 3 light user and giving you the limited user, the limited access user. And the pricing starting with GP 2013, once you've transitioned over to that new version and have new registration keys, the pricing will be, regardless of whether you have the starter pack or the starter and extender pack, $3,000 per any additional full user, and then $600 per limited access user. I think it's good news, but I'll be interested in hearing your comments during the Q&A session. Other considerations. One of the things we're learning is that when you move to GP 2013, once we gain registration keys, you cannot go back. So you cannot change your mind. You are now going to be licensed at 2013. If you need new keys, you need new users, it'll all be on GP 2013. There are new system requirements for this version, as there are and have been in the past. The 2 key ones are that your SQL Server needs to be 2008 release 2 or higher, and you have to be on Windows Server 2008 or higher. And there are separate, if you want to take advantage of the web client, there are separate web application and client requirements as well. Here's some suggested next steps. Attend our weekly webinars. They are each Wednesday at 10 a.m., same as this one, running for the next 10 weeks. Review the system requirements and see if you're ready to upgrade to GP 2013 or if you might need to make an investment. Or maybe it's a time, if it's a substantial investment, to think about moving to the cloud. seriously consider upgrading your management report if you haven't already, or to management report if you haven't already done so before the GP 2013, again, to minimize the pain of doing a double upgrade at the same time. Not that we try to make it not painful, but still I think it's a good idea. We'll need to assess for each of you, if you've got add-on products, the availability of those products. They're all releasing sometime over the next, if they're not already out, most add-on modules should be released and out there by April, I would think at the latest. And if you'd like to schedule a preliminary meeting with us. We'll be on the PDF providing you with a series of links. And again, if you need additional information that's not available in those links, you know how to find us. And at this point, unmute and let me know what questions you might have or comments. You can also use the chat if you'd prefer to do that. So one of the questions was, we'll be sending the slides, and yes, we are. Any questions? I mean, what are your thoughts about the full access versus the limited user?